All right, good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Thank you so much for joining me for another chat today. And again, I think this is another really important topic. Before we get into it, again, I'll just remind everyone that it's about osteoporosis and bone health, as you guys see in the title. But first of all, I hope you guys can hear me. If you guys can just let me know that I can be heard, it's always greatly appreciated. And thank you again so much for everyone who's joining this stream. Been a busy week, but of course you guys know I'll always be here for the Sunday live streams. So again, if you guys can just let me know where you're from, if you can hear me, that'd be greatly appreciated. And thank you so much, guys, for hitting the like button already. I already see 4 thumbs up. We just immediately got those. So thank you so much, guys. Hopefully the connection is good and you're all able to hear me. It seems good on my end, but you never seem to know. But thank you so much, guys. I got to give you just a quick shout out and thank you for the support you guys have been giving the channel over the last week since the last time that we spoke. So thank you so much. Tons of comments. Unfortunately, I can't respond to all of them, but I try to as much as possible for the newer ones. But thank you so much, guys, for all those thumbs up. But yeah, let me know if you can hear me. Let me know where you're from. So we're going to talk about foods that can help to prevent osteoporosis today, as I said, and foods that are going to promote bone health. Now, we're not only going to talk about foods that are going to prevent these bone ailments and prevent overall bone health, but we're also going to talk about foods that we're going to want to, limit or stay away from in general, especially if you're dealing with osteoporosis symptoms already, or you're dealing with osteoporosis or other ailments, fractures, anything like that. These are the type of foods that you're going to want to eat, and we're going to discuss right off the bat some lifestyle changes we can make and some foods that we can add to our diet, to help improve bone health. So let's first talk about, I think we'd be a little bit remiss. Thank you, Mufasa. And yes, let me give a quick happy Father's Day to everyone out there as well. Thank you, Mufasa. I appreciate that. I'm not a father myself, but maybe one day I will be. But happy Father's Day to everyone else out there who is a father. And happy Father's Day, shout out to my dad. But let's talk a little bit about, and good to see you as always, Mufasa, thank you. But let's talk a little bit about some of the, really quickly, the lifestyle changes that we're going to want to make. We see this in the literature, a little bit of resistance training. Okay, we've seen that a little bit of resistance training, and again, I don't mean that you have to go into a gym, start lifting barbells, dumbbells, things of that nature. You guys know I'm a big proponent of just using resistance bands, buying something right off Amazon or something on the internet. I'd go with Amazon, something that's trusted, used every single day. I'd go with Amazon, and again, it's going to be very cost efficient. It's probably only going to be about $25. I have a few myself, and it was $25 for the entire set. Good morning to you as well, Deborah. Thank you so much for joining today. And thank you so much for the Happy Father's Day. All right. Just drinking a quick sip of water here. So let's talk about just really quickly the lifestyle. Remember, we talked quite a bit about the resistance training. We see in tons of studies, and I've seen and experienced just with clients and things like that, how doing a little bit of resistance training each week, 3 times a week, 2 times a week, the frequency doesn't have to be, 5 days a week or anything like that. You can do 2 to 3 times a week, and you're going to see great results with helping with bone health. So the resistance training is going to help. Now let's talk a little bit about the foods that we're going to want to stay away from. Another good day in LA. Thank you so much, William. I appreciate it that you can hear me loud and clear. Thank you so much for the Happy Father's Day. And I appreciate you guys leaving a message in chat. So thank you so much. So a little bit of resistance training. And you guys know that a little bit can go a long way, especially if you're starting from not doing any. All right. So try to get in a little bit of that resistance training if you can. Again, it doesn't have to be 5-6 times a week. You can go 2 to 3. As long as you're getting it about, let's say about anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour each week. I think that's more than enough. And that's what you kind of see in the studies as well. I wouldn't say 30 minutes. I think that's a little bit low. I think maybe a little bit closer to an hour each week is going to do wonders. Maybe a little bit over an hour is going to do wonders for overall bone health. It might not reverse if you already have osteoporosis, but it can prevent, all right, bone ailments such as osteoporosis. All right, and if you have it, all right, you can see benefits from it. It might not be a full reversal, but you can slow down the degeneration of bones and things of that nature a little bit with resistance training. So add that into your lifestyle, guys. Let's quickly talk about the foods that we're gonna want to stay away from. All right, because there's some really important ones. First, we'll talk about the foods that we want to stay away from. Then we'll talk about the micronutrients that we're going to want to focus on, because there's some very specific ones that are going to be very important for overall bone health. So again, the foods that we're going to want to stay from. I'll go through them quick because you guys have heard me say these a number of times. All right, so first of all, the one that you're going to want to stay away from is sodium. Foods that are rich in sodium, and you guys know which ones I'm talking about. It's like your fast food, your frozen foods, certain canned foods, things of that nature. Stay away from excess salt if you can, or as often as possible. One, and this is kind of related to our micronutrient theme today, is it's going to cause your body to release calcium and even hurt the absorption of calcium. All right, so you're losing calcium with the more and more sodium you're eating. All right, and calcium is going to be a very important micronutrient, as we're going to see here in a second. So try to limit as much salt from your diet as possible. Okay, guys, limit salt intake. It's only going to be hurting bones because, again, it's going to prevent the absorption of calcium, and it's actually going to release calcium from the body, usually through urination and all that type of stuff. So stay away from high salty foods if you can, high sodium foods. Catherine, hello, I'm from India. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for letting me know. I love hearing where you guys are from. LA, Ontario, Canada, India. Very nice. I know, Deborah, you're in the States. So thank you so much, guys. I appreciate that. Yeah, all junk, like you say, Mufasa, all fast food or junk food and things like that, it's really not going to have any benefits whatsoever. And specifically to our discussion today, dealing with osteoporosis and bone health, it's only going to prevent bone health from occurring, and actually can lead to bone ailments. It can be one of the factors that can lead to bone ailments, as we see with the release of calcium and hurting the absorption of calcium and other micronutrients in the body. All right, we want to keep as many of those in as we can, guys. So first, high sodium foods. All right, another one, what we see in the literature, all right, and you guys have probably heard it too, but if you're dealing with osteoporosis and everything like that, or you're dealing with certain bone ailments, or you're trying to prevent bone ailments, try to keep alcohol in moderation. Okay, some of the studies out there show that if it's, consumed in moderation, or very low amounts, as long as we're not drinking in excess, because drinking alcohol in excess can actually lead to bone loss. That's what we see in the literature. It's when we drink alcohol in excess. If you want to keep it moderate just for overall health benefits, I think that's a great idea. But think about your alcohol intake and try not to drink alcohol in excess, because what we see from the studies is if we are, then that's gonna help lead to bone loss. And then if you're dealing with bone loss and things of that nature, that's when you're gonna be dealing with an increase in the risk of bone-related issues such as osteoporosis and reducing overall bone health. Okay, I think the literature said something like 2 drinks per day or something like that, but I always tend to lean on I would try to cut it even lower than that, guys. 2 drinks a day. Not only will you be dealing with increased bone health, but overall health again, because we are talking about bone health today, but I always bring it back to overall bone health, or overall health, sorry. So if you can try to keep that alcohol intake in moderation, I don't know if 2 drinks a day is really in moderation, but to each their own. Again, we don't judge here. South Carolina, nice, Deborah. That's right. I knew it was one of the Carolinas. I didn't want to say which one, just in case I got it wrong there. Do you ever hear of a beer good for bones? I haven't heard any beer that's good for bones, Mufasa, to be honest with you. Definitely not off the top of my head. I would try to limit all alcohol intake. If it has alcohol in it, I think you're going to be dealing with issues related to bone health. So if there's alcohol, such as in beer or any type of alcoholic drink, you're going to be dealing with some of that bone loss. So I would try to keep overall alcoholic drinks in moderation. I quit a long time ago. Okay, nice. Again, just another one, guys. Okay, and this might surprise some people. And, again, it's not to say our next one is going to be caffeine. It doesn't mean that you have to keep all caffeine or never drink coffee or anything like that, but we have to limit it. Okay, and that doesn't mean just coffee. It can be like energy drinks. I know those are super popular, even certain teas to a degree. If you're really dealing with osteoporosis symptoms or bone loss already, or you're dealing with bone health issues, you'll probably want to decrease your consumption of caffeine. And then why? Because it's going to contribute to bone loss. So it's only going to accelerate bone loss in the body. And then again, it's also going to decrease the absorption of calcium in the body. So very, very important, guys. And we're going to talk about this when we talk about the micronutrients real quick. Calcium is very important for bones, as you guys probably know. So if we're decreasing the absorption, we're only taking a step back in promoting bone health and preventing bone-related ailments such as osteoporosis. Is that the only bone-related ailment? Absolutely not, but it's probably the most common. It's probably the one that we hear most of all. And you guys might know people who are friends, family members, co-workers, things of that nature who are dealing with osteoporosis symptoms. I know in some of the studies, osteoporosis, just like when we talked about heart disease and things of that nature, gut issues, digestive health issues, we see that increasing on a year-by-year basis. It's the same with osteoporosis. All right, and again, that doesn't mean that you can't ever drink teas or coffees and things of that nature, but if you're dealing with bone-related issues, you'll definitely want to try to minimize that consumption of caffeine, just again, because it's going to contribute, one, to bone loss, all right, which again, we're taking a major step back if we're trying to promote bone health, and again, it's going to decrease the absorption of calcium, a very important micronutrient for bone health, all right. Let's let me make sure I'm not missing any here. For me, only social drinking and not very often. Yeah, exactly, William. Like I said, as long as we're not drinking in excess. Okay, so I think the definition, or most definitions that they use in the literature, is more than 2 drinks per day. So again, if you're drinking socially and you're not drinking that often, and it's a low amount, then again, I'm not going to sit up here and say you're going to be taking a step back like I did with caffeine, with the bone loss issues and calcium absorption issues and things of that nature, but I would try to limit it as much as possible. I once read an article that 10 ounces of beer a day is good for bones, but if you drink more than 10 ounces, it won't help. Interesting. I wonder what the good part of that would be. 10 ounces of beer. Might be kind of is it the like hops or something in it? That's kind of interesting. I never heard that, Mary, but thank you so much for pointing that out. Mufasa, I think you might have pointed that out a little bit when you asked, ever heard if beer is good for bones? I've never read that, but if you guys can let me know why, that would be really, really interesting. Then I can kind of look it up and research it myself, because that's quite interesting. I think, and it's kind of exactly to what I was saying, Mary. It's interesting, the article 10 ounces. So again, that's going to be in moderation for sure. That's probably, 1 beer or something like that. It's definitely not one of the harder alcohols. That's quite a bit. But for a beer and things like that, barley hops, yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking, Mufasa, like the hops in it, the barley. I was thinking barley. I couldn't remember what the other one was, but hops and things of that nature, kind of on the same page. That was sort of what I was thinking, but that's very interesting. I'll have to look that up. But again, it's in moderation, only in moderation, guys. Try to stay away from alcohol as often as possible, but again, to each their own. I'll leave that up to you guys. I had no idea that caffeine affected bone loss. Yes. Yeah, interesting, isn't it, Deborah? Yeah, I'm glad. hopefully other people are able to learn from that as well. And again, I'm not saying that you have to take caffeine totally out of the diet, but if you are dealing with bone health issues and things of that nature, then you're going to maybe want to limit it, kind of like the alcohol discussion that we just had. All right. So again, I'm not saying that you can never drink caffeine. It's just you'll want to limit your intake for that. Okay. Now, maybe the other one that I'll just say is, in some of the studies, we see that excess, certain micronutrients, if you're having too much of, we have to be careful. Now, we know that, things like calcium is important. We'll talk about some of the other ones. I brought up calcium. But, if we're having too much of, say, like vitamin A, all right, we know that vitamin A in moderate amounts can be important for bone health. But if we're having too much, all right, too much either through like diet or if you're taking supplements or things of that nature, it can increase the risk of bone health issues. And again, you have to be eating quite a bit, but I just want to point it out, too much of a good thing is probably not a good thing either. All right, so just be careful with having too much vitamin A. In moderate amounts, it's just fine. But if we're eating it in excess, it has been kind of shown that it can have adverse effects on bone health. And again, that's just dealing with bone loss and bone mineral density issues. All right, so density and bone mineral and bone loss. So keep that in mind, guys. Now let's talk just really quickly, before we get into the foods, let's really quickly talk about some of the micronutrients that are going to be important. All right, so I've already brought up calcium. All right, so we need calcium that's going to help with bone mineral density, reducing the risk of bone loss, and it's also a important or essential micronutrient when it comes to bone tissue and things of that nature. So calcium, very important. Another one that you're going to see all the time is magnesium. So calcium, maybe one of the most important ones. Magnesium, also very, very important for bone health. All right, so the reason why magnesium is, it can help and plays a big role in building strong bones. All right. So if we want stronger bones, of course, if we want to be dealing with less and less bone loss, not dealing with bone mineral density issues, then magnesium is a very important one as well. Thank you, Mufasa. And good morning to you, Tammy. And thank you. Happy Father's Day to everyone out there who's listening, all the fathers. Thank you, Tammy. Good to see you as well. And that's okay, Mary. Interesting. I'll have to look that up after the stream. The 10 ounces is very specific, so it's interesting if it was a study that was done. I'm guessing that it was, but thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. And again, great to see you, Tammy. Thank you so much for joining. So magnesium, another great one. So we need to make sure that we're having at least moderate amounts of it. All right. Get in these healthy foods. The foods that I'm going to be bringing up today are going to be a great source of calcium and a great source of magnesium. All right. As we get older and older, it's harder and harder for us to absorb magnesium. So we want to make sure that we're getting good amounts of it. We're not overdoing it on magnesium. Again, like I said, too much of a good thing, all right, can be a bad thing. But magnesium is vital and essential for strong bones. So let's keep that in mind. Calcium and magnesium, and you'll hear me say that throughout the stream and throughout the chat, foods that are high in these two micronutrients. Now, another one is, especially for osteoporosis, guys, there's been a lot of research on vitamin K, specifically vitamin K1, on how this micronutrient can help to prevent osteoporosis. So that's one that's specific to osteoporosis. Not only is it going to help promote overall bone health, but help prevent osteoporosis as well. And it's kind of interesting. So I think that one, we have to say vitamin K, and I want to just point out specifically what we see in the studies is vitamin K1. All right. Again, for people who are dealing with fractures, I brought that up a little bit earlier. So some bone health related issues might be an increased risk of bone fractures and things of that nature, especially as we get older, because as I just said, our ability to absorb magnesium decreases as we get older. So again, magnesium is sort of correlates with strong bones, so we can have a weakening of bones as we get older. All right, we see that vitamin K can help to not only strengthen bones, but reduce the risk of fractures and things of that nature. Especially, I think the studies have a lot to do with hip fractures, just because they're so detrimental, especially at a later age. Those injuries are almost catastrophic when you think of the results that can happen from hip fractures and hip injuries, especially related to bones as we get older. So we want to keep our bones healthy, strong, and prevent those fractures from occurring. Those are good ones, Mufasa, absolutely. Magnesium citrate, sometimes I'll drink at night. But yeah, if you guys want to add those ones. And I got to say, thank you so much, guys, for all of the thumbs up. Wow, I just looked. We've been going for 20 minutes, 22 thumbs up. Thank you so much, guys. So just to go over it real quick, calcium, magnesium, vitamin K, specifically vitamin K1, if we're trying to diminish or reduce the risk of osteoporosis. Now, let's just really quickly go over one more. Again, if we want to keep strong bones or increase the strength of our bones, reduce the risk of bone loss and reduce issues related to bone mineral density, zinc is another important one, guys. Just remember, keep it in moderation, but we need to make sure that zinc is in our diet. Again, there's been studies out there, and it's not hand-picked ones. There's been numerous studies that show a deficiency in zinc, just like a deficiency in magnesium, is going to be sort of correlates or sort of associated with a reduction in overall bone health. And again, when we have that, you're going to just sort of increase your risk of bone-related ailments such as osteoporosis, such as fractures, things of that nature, bone loss overall. So I think those are great ones, guys. Zinc, vitamin K, magnesium, calcium, and again, I think we'll do one more. I think another one is going to be vitamin D, and you guys might have heard that as well. And again, I think a nice mix of vitamin D and calcium sort of going hand in hand. Keep this in mind too, guys. Yes, you might be sort of eating foods that are high in calcium, or maybe you're supplementing with calcium. If you are, just keep in consideration that if we don't have enough vitamin D, if we're deficient in vitamin D, it's going to hurt our body's ability to absorb calcium properly. All right. So I think that's important, guys. We have to keep that in mind. The two sort of go hand in hand. We need to make sure that we have enough vitamin D. Again, in moderation, you don't have to overdo it. We just want to make sure that we're not deficient in vitamin D. And we see that vitamin D is one of the most common micronutrients that we do have a deficiency in. Vitamin D, I guess maybe some other ones might be iron, maybe some sort of B vitamins, depending on what diet you're eating. So I think vitamin D is sort of essential, guys, if we want to increase overall bone health, reduce the risk of osteoporosis and other bone ailments. Just because if we're deficient in that micronutrient, again, we're not going to be absorbing calcium and we're not going to be increasing bone health. So again, even if we're increasing calcium and things of that nature, again, if you're deficient in vitamin D, you are not going to see the benefits of it. All right, or at least not maxing out the benefits of the calcium. So I think that's enough for the micronutrient, guys. I don't want to overdo it with that. I think if you're sort of keeping those 5 in mind, I wrote down 5. I think if you're keeping those in mind, I think you're going to be going a long way in helping to promote bone health and prevent osteoporosis. All right, especially with the vitamin K. That one you see a ton of studies that kind of go hand in hand with each other. Vitamin K1 and osteoporosis. So just keep that in mind, guys. Now, let's talk about some of the foods. All right, let's start with calcium. We started with it, so let's start with some of the foods that are going to be high in calcium. I think calcium's one of the easiest to sort of get into your diet. Again, if you're not doing it with foods, all right, you can always use a supplement, but I think you can do it with foods quite easily if you're having a healthy diet, right? Because there's a ton of healthy foods out there that are going to be a great source of calcium. And it doesn't have to just be dairy. So if you're not eating dairy in your diet, let's talk about some of the other ones that are going to be helpful for you. Because I know a lot of people, especially in chat, have sort of pointed out that they don't eat dairy or they're following a vegetarian or vegan diet. So we'll point out some of those as well. And a lot of people don't have dairy in high amounts. So we'll make sure that we point out some calcium foods that are going to be good for you as well. Hey, Joshua, how's it going? Good to see you in chat. Thank you so much for joining today. By standardized vitamin. Yep. Yeah, I take a few supplements as well, Mufasa. And again, nothing, I haven't really in a while. My diet's been pretty good, so I've been getting most things from my diet. But, every now and then, if I feel like maybe I need a little boost in something, I will take a spinach or a supplement, sorry. So that's interesting, Joshua. Spinach works for osteoporosis. So we probably get into that, my friend. We're just about to get into that. And thank you so much for the thumbs up, guys. I really appreciate it. So let's talk about some of the foods that we're going to want to add to our diet. We talked about the ones that we're going to want to limit. I think a good one to start off with, again, is calcium. All right. Again, that's going to be important for maintaining strength of our bones, overall bone health, reducing the risk of osteoporosis, a lot of bone health promotion when we're eating calcium, guys. So let's talk a little bit about we'll talk a little bit about leafy green vegetables, guys. I think important ones. Remember, I want to give you the best. A lot of times people will make an umbrella of leafy green vegetables, of dark leafy green vegetables, things of that nature. I think important one, maybe the most important, might be broccoli. Why? Because it's going to be a good source of calcium, right, as we mentioned here, but it's also going to be a good source of vitamin C, which I didn't mention in the micronutrient part, but it's going to be very, very helpful for bone health as well. Okay, so vitamin C, guys, that would maybe be another one that you might want to look at as well. Again, that's going to have, bone mineral density promotion, all right, not dealing with the loss of bone mineral density, all right, so keep vitamin C high as well. So, and that's why broccoli is such a great choice if you're trying to promote the overall health of your bones. One, it's going to be high in calcium, but it's also going to be a great source of vitamin C. One of the best sources of vitamin C as well. Sugar that's a great question, Mary. Sugar can deplete calcium absorption, not as much as sodium, but again, sugar might be one of the worst things for overall bone health and overall health in general. We're just seeing more and more literature that's just talking about the negative effects of consuming sugar. I think not only can it deplete calcium, but it can also do damage to our bones in a bunch of different ways. So you're going to want to limit sugar just like you're going to want to limit sodium. All right, and they kind of go hand in hand. I mentioned it in a few streams now. Sugar and sodium, two of the worst things that you can have. And I've told you guys, if I'm having high amounts of sugar or sodium, say I'm having like my cheat meal for the week and things of that nature, I try to keep it as low as possible. I do not handle those two, I wouldn't even call them nutrients, but those two foods very poorly. So sodium and sugar, I would stay away from, or keep it in moderate amounts as often as you can, as best you can, guys. So that's a great question, Mary. Thank you for pointing that out. I was going to mention that. You actually sort of reminded me of that. Again, it can deplete calcium, but it's just going to have negative effects on bone mineral density. It can, with bone loss, and again, just the absorption of most micronutrients, not only calcium. So it could be having negative effects on vitamin K, vitamin D, things of that nature. And plus, it doesn't have any of the healthy bone micronutrients that we've been talking about in it. It has no micronutrients. So again, just a horrible, horrible choice for overall bone health. But thank you for pointing that out again, Mary. So I think broccoli is a good one, guys, if we're trying to increase calcium. I think spinach, like Joshua sort of pointed out, is a great one. And then another one is going to be your kale. So there's the three. I don't think I've ever mentioned that. I've tried to stay away from those three, like listing those three as a good choice. Why? Because we already know that, or you probably already know that broccoli, kale, and spinach are overall a great choice for overall health. But they're also a great choice for bone health. Not only are they a great source of calcium, but you're going to find here as we get into our discussion, they're high in bone healthy nutrients. Vitamin K. That's why broccoli I listed first. Great source of vitamin K. Vitamin C, things of that nature. Even magnesium. So broccoli, kale, spinach would be a good one. I'll throw one more out there again because I tried to stay away from those three. Again, not because they're not healthy, but again, because you guys probably already know those. So I want to be as helpful as possible. But I think maybe one more that you might want to add is perhaps mustard greens. Those are a great choice for bone health as well. Sorry, I'll go back. We need to watch sodium in canned foods, processed food, and fast. Absolutely, Mary. I think as I mentioned in our sodium discussion, processed foods like fast food. I mentioned frozen foods as well, exact same as processed foods and fast foods, and even canned foods. I think might have mentioned all three, so you're exactly right, Mary. Stay away from those as often as possible. Those are going to be the highest in sodium. What do you think of a balance of nature supplements? Well, thank you for the question, Zara, of nature supplements. Is that a certain brand of supplements, Zorro? Maybe just let me know what you mean by nature supplements, and I'd be happy to maybe comment on that. But thank you for the question. Thank you for stopping by. So our broccoli, our spinach, our kale, that's all going to be great for bone health, guys. And I know a lot of people are eating that already. I think mustard greens would be another great one for calcium. All right, so I've never heard of nature supplements. Let me look them up real quick. I never like to get into specific types. Again, there's so many out there. So I'll try to stay away from that. If you see good amounts of good reviews of that Zorro, and it's a good supplement, and it has maybe some research to back up what it is, or it's just a lot of the supplements are good, because if you're trying to get magnesium and it's a magnesium supplement, usually it's going to be a pretty good one. So I think that's probably fine. Balance of nature supplements. I think with this one, though, I'll just point out, there's nothing that's going to be, I guess, bad with taking a supplement for this. But I really want to promote you guys getting these micronutrients through your diet as well. Again, certain supplements are going to be better than others. I've never looked at or never even heard of nature supplements, Zorro. So unfortunately, I can't comment specifically on those. But again, there's a ton of supplements that are going to be making calcium, magnesium, vitamin K, especially vitamin D supplements. So, I don't think you can go wrong with that. As long as the reviews are good, as long as there's nothing else in there, I think you're going to be fine. Again, I would always go liquid if I could, especially a vitamin C supplement, or powdered if you can, guys. So thank you for the question, Zorro. So again, calcium, I think, is going to be one of your easiest ones. You can get that through dark leafy green vegetables. Again, if you eat dairy, and I know not everyone does, but dairy is going to be the easiest way to get calcium. And you guys can probably guess your yogurts, which I promote quite a bit, especially for their probiotics. So I think try to stay with plain or non-sugary types of yogurts. There's a ton out there with added sugar, so try to keep it as low in sugar as possible. You might even want to try to stay away from skim varieties. You can have 2%, things of that nature. There's nothing wrong with that. It's going to be a little bit lower in milk sugars. So I think that is a great choice. Like yogurt, I would go with plain. Maybe even Greek yogurt is a great one. Again, you're not going to be going wrong as long as there's not that added sugar. Just going back to Mary's comment, as long as there's not added sugar to it, then you're going to be making a great choice with yogurt. Milk, of course, all varieties of milk. Again, you don't have to go with skim. Skim is going to be a little bit higher in milk sugars, but you can go with 2% and things like that. Even cottage cheese is a good one. Again, I tend to eat those types of foods, guys. So those are nice ones for me. I don't drink milk in large amounts, for sure. I don't have like a glass of milk or anything like that, but I will have it in, like, if I'm having like a healthy cereal or things like that, I will add it. That's probably the only way I'm getting milk in. Yes, absolutely, Joshua. You can do it without dairy, all right? Without dairy, for sure. I see Zorro mention veggies and fruits. Exactly. We just talked about a bunch of veggies, dark leafy green vegetables that are going to be helpful in preventing osteoporosis and promoting bone health. So again, that's why I say, supplements are fine, but you guys are going to be able to get all of these in through diet as well. So I think that's an important point to bring up. Yes, you can supplement with it, especially like vitamin D, vitamin K. those are probably some of the more popular ones. But again, you can get these in through diet. All right, let's talk about some other ones with calcium. We'll just go over those real quick. All right, because we've already mentioned dairy products, vegetables. I think another important one, let's talk about nuts and seeds. Again, my favorite nut variety. I say almost in every stream, I try to stay away from it as often as possible because I want to give you guys other varieties so that we're not always listing the same ones. But I think almonds are probably one of your best bet, guys. It's very high in calcium. Again, maybe one I don't mention too often is going to be Brazil nuts. We see in some of the literature, Brazil nuts sort of correlates with overall bone health and preventing osteoporosis as well. So there's two good ones, guys. Just make sure that you're eating almonds, and I always tend to mention this. Just make sure you're eating almonds with the skin, the brown skin still on. Like, that's where a lot of the micronutrients, especially related to bone health, are going to be found. And a lot of the antioxidants. Again, we want those antioxidants as well, guys. And thank you so much for the thumbs up. I really, really appreciate it. Man, you guys are really supporting today. Thank you so much. We're already at 29. Every time I look, it goes up by quite a bit amount. So thank you so much, guys. Again, let's get into some more foods. So we have all of those dairy products, all of those vegetables, and all of those nuts and seeds. All right. Again, for a seed, I don't think you can go wrong with like pumpkin seeds. Another good one might be even flax seeds. Just keep it in moderation, guys, and keep the nuts in moderation as well, just because they can be a little bit higher in calories. One other one I'll give you guys for calcium is gonna be salmon. Salmon is another great choice for overall bone health, guys. Great source of calcium, kind of goes sort of unsaid a lot of the times. It's calcium, sort of how much calcium it has in it, but that's a great one. Magnesium, we'll get into that, Tammy. That's a great one. Yes, there is some calcium in almond milk. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. You can have almond milk if you wish, or you can have them raw. Again, great choice for calcium, guys. A natural source of calcium. I think almonds are one of your best bets. So keep that in mind, guys. Again, just in moderation, and you'll be doing fine. All right. So let's go to vitamin D, just because that can be a little bit tougher to get in, guys. Like I said, vitamin D supplementation is one of the more popular ones out there today. And as I mentioned before, vitamin D deficiency is one of the most common micronutrient deficiencies out there. All right, so let's talk about some of the ways that we can add vitamin D. Supplementation, a lot of the time, is the easiest way to do it. I know a ton of people who supplement with vitamin D. Again, I would go with a liquid form. I don't even know if there's a non-liquid form, to be honest with you. All I've ever used or all I've ever seen is liquid. But we need to make sure that we're getting vitamin D in, guys. Again, it's essential for overall bone health, and it's essential and vital for the absorption of calcium. And remember, we already talked about why those two micronutrients are so important. Calcium may be the most important, so we want to make sure our body's absorbing that. And we already know as we get older, our body's ability to absorb things like calcium, magnesium is going to get worse and worse, and it's going to be tougher and tougher for that absorption. So keep that in mind, guys. So what are some of the foods that are high in vitamin D? I think one of your best bets is, again, going to be if you're eating fish. All right, I'll throw some non-fish varieties in there, some non-fish sort of foods that you can add. A lot of the time, though, guys, it is going to be sort of protein-based and things of that nature. So, your meat, things like that. So just throwing in one more thing for people who don't eat meat or some of the other foods that I'm about to mention. So vitamin D, I think, fish is a great choice. As I mentioned before, these three come up a lot, guys, especially when I was talking about omega-3 fatty acids, so even with healthy fats. But salmon is going to be a great choice. Another one is going to be sardines, and then a mackerel. All right, and I'm learning more and more about mackerel all the time, guys. It's just such a great choice for overall health, and now we see in overall bone health. So I think that's a great choice for you as well. Joshua, I look back. Sardines, salmon, mackerel. Yeah, we're right on the same page here, I think, buddy. In water is better. Absolutely. Some of the in the oil can give you, some more of those omega-3 fatty acids and things of that nature, Mufasa. But, in water is fine too, because you're going to find those oils within the sardines also. So that's a great choice. But yeah, sardines are a great choice if you're trying to increase vitamin D. Hey, good morning, Deb. Thank you so much. Happy Father's Day. Thank you. And happy Father's Day to you and everyone else in chat again. Thank you. And it's great to see you again, Deb. So keep that in mind, guys. Salmon, mackerel, and sardines. Probably 3 of your best for increasing vitamin D in your diet. And again, I'm learning more and more about the benefits of mackerel. It's I almost want to make a video. I probably haven't done a video on that, or if I did, it was probably a long time ago or very short. So I might make a video just specifically on mackerel, just because of all the benefits that it has. And I know not a lot of people have that in their diet. So if you do eat fish, maybe that's one of the ones that you might want to look at. Another one, guys, for vitamin D is going to be eggs. And specifically, if you're eating the eggs, and remember, I'm a big proponent of this, make sure you're eating the yolk. All right, that's where you're going to find the vitamin D. Pretty much all of the micronutrients that you're going to get from, if you're eating eggs, is found in the yolk, guys. So eggs, and more specifically, the egg yolk, going to be a good source of vitamin D and a bunch of other micronutrients as well. We know that's where all of the B vitamins are and everything else. So I think that's a great choice as well if you're trying to increase vitamin D. Again, you can always supplement, guys, but hopefully you're getting some sun where you are, because another great way, and probably the easiest way to get vitamin D, is just exposure to sunlight, to the UV rays from sun. Again, you can just be out for like a 15-minute sort of span and get good amounts of vitamin D. And again, you don't even have to do that too often. You're going to get natural vitamin D from exposure to UV rays, and you can just do that a couple times a week and get good amounts of vitamin D. So that's one way. If you don't eat sort of meat and fish and eggs and things of that nature, your best bet and easiest way to get vitamin D is just going to be through natural UV rays from the sun. Again, there can be foods that are sort of fortified with vitamin D, but I would stick to these ones, guys, just because sometimes, it's a little bit harder to find. Sometimes you'll find milk that's, or even almond milk, things of that nature, dairy products, and sort of dairy supplements that are fortified with vitamin D. So that's another way you can get it. Almond milk fortified with vitamin D, if you're not a dairy fan, might be your best bet. And then again, just some other ones is going to be, red meat, but keep it in moderation, guys. If you do eat meat, that's going to be a good one for vitamin D. Again, beans can be a good choice. Black beans, pinto beans, navy beans. You guys know my stance on beans. All right, a lot of them, it's very hard to choose which one's best. Maybe black beans, but all of the bean varieties are going to give you a benefit for overall bone health, guys. So, a little bit of foods. I think probably the best way and most easiest way to get vitamin D is just natural sunlight, UV rays, guys. Or again, just using a supplement. Okay. Sorry, I'm just drinking a little bit of water here, guys. You guys know I'm a big proponent of making sure we get enough water. So make sure you guys are getting good water, guys. So yeah, just be careful with vitamin D. It's one of the ones that you're going to find a deficiency in a lot of the times. Again, as I mentioned, it's one of the most common micronutrient deficiencies out there today, which is kind of surprising because I think it's one of the easiest ways to add to our diet. We can supplement, we can get supplements for it. We can get sunlight. So keep that in mind, though, guys. Make sure that you're getting good amounts of vitamin D. Now let's talk about some other ones. We'll get into let's get into some magnesium ones, guys. Magnesium, I think, again, not very difficult to add to our diet. I think there's a lot of foods out there and a lot of healthy foods that are going to be a good source of magnesium. One, which we were just talking about, is going to be beans. An incredible amount of magnesium is found in, say your black beans, your kidney beans, absolutely kidney beans. Pinto beans, good for the heart. Yes, Mufasa, absolutely. We talked about beans quite a bit last week related to cholesterol levels. So beans are a tremendous food, maybe a superfood, but I think one of the highest, if not the highest micronutrient in beans, say your black beans, is going to be magnesium and manganese. Again, a lot of people overlook that when it comes to beans and stuff of that nature. So a great source of magnesium is going to be beans, guys. So again, keep it in moderation though. Again, specifically when we're talking about beans, too much of a good thing, like I've been mentioning through this chat, too much of a good thing is probably going to be a bad thing. So you're going to want to keep even beans in moderation. I've seen in some of the studies sometimes eating, too many beans or too many legume varieties can actually be detrimental to bone health. So in moderation, very good for bone health, very good micronutrients that are essential for bone health and for preventing osteoporosis specifically, but too much can be a bad thing. So just keep that in mind. And again, a cup of beans every other day or a few times a week, I say would definitely be categorized in the moderate sort of way of doing it. I don't think you'd be hurting yourself too much if you're only having a cup every couple of days. So beans are a great one. Some of the other ones are going to be sort of like your sweet potatoes and things of that nature. Again, the supplementation can be a very good one. I think, that's important. Again, we already mentioned magnesium citrate. And again, very easy, very common, a very common supplementation. A lot of people will just have it and drink it before bed because it can have some sleep benefits as well. So a ton of ways to get magnesium, guys. We've talked about avocados before. Super high in magnesium. Again, a true superfood. I think avocados are a great way to add magnesium to your diet. Again, keep it in moderation. Thank you so much, Mufasa. I'm glad that you enjoy all the videos. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And thank you everyone else for all the thumbs up. Man, we crossed my goal so fast today. I think it must have been within 40 minutes because we're already at 36 and we've been going for 47 minutes. So thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Again, if we're thinking of more magnesium foods, we've talked a little bit about nuts. You're not going to be doing yourself a disservice by eating almonds, guys, because Tammy, if you're still in here, almonds are going to be a good choice for you, and Brazil nuts again. That's why I mentioned them when we were talking about calcium. I think if you're having those in your diet, you're going to be doing, taking major steps forward in increasing bone health and preventing bone-related ailments such as osteoporosis, such as bone loss, such as a decrease in bone mineral density. So almonds are good, and Brazil nuts, just make sure, guys, you are eating Brazil nuts in moderation. I wouldn't eat more than 3 if you're having them every day, especially. So no more than 3 Brazil nuts per day, guys. Very high in selenium, very high in micronutrients, very high in magnesium. All right, so if you're eating 3, that's more than enough. Like I said, myself, I never go over 3. I have before, but I definitely don't right now. And again, wasn't too much over 3. It was like 5. But if you're having them every day, especially, keep them at no more than 3, guys. So need a lot of broccoli and spinach. That's great. So great, Tammy, because broccoli and spinach, like I said, two of your best calcium sources as well, and just micronutrients overall. So almonds, guys, are going to be very important. Brazil nuts are going to be very important for magnesium. We already, I'd like to throw some seeds in there for you guys as well, because I know there's a lot of people who eat a bunch of different seed varieties. But when it comes to magnesium, a tremendous choice is going to be different types of seeds. Again, you can never go. I mentioned this before, and that's why I mentioned it in the calcium. discussion, but you can never really go wrong with pumpkin and flax seeds. Those two are going to be very high in magnesium. I think another one you can't go wrong with is chia seeds. The only thing you want to do is just make sure you're eating them in moderation. They're all very, very high in magnesium, some of the best sources of magnesium, especially for our seed varieties, guys. So pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, and chia seeds. I have those written down. And also, with all of these foods, guys, keep in mind, we mentioned those important micronutrients, but we also are going to benefit from the antioxidants that are in these foods. Okay, they're going to help protect our bones and everything of that nature, reduce inflammation, reduce damaging free radicals, oxidative stress, things like that. So you're getting a lot of different benefits. Don't think when I say pumpkin seeds, it's not just related to magnesium, just like it wasn't related just to calcium. We're looking at the best foods for overall bone health and to prevent osteoporosis, guys. All right, let me just catch up on chat here. Good morning. You have one of the most informative health-related videos. Well, thank you so much, Alan. I appreciate that. Thank you for the compliment and the comment. Oh, from Jamaica. Very nice, Alan. I haven't been to Jamaica. It's one of the places that I would love to travel to. I've never been there to the island, but hear great things about it. Welcome to chat. I really appreciate the comment, Alan. Thank you so much. Sea salt, truffle salt. Yeah, interesting. You hear about sea salt in moderation, Himalayan pink salt. You guys hear probably about all the benefits. I've done videos on that before. So again, just keep it in moderation because the salt, remember that, guys. Sodium is going to reduce the absorption of calcium, and it's going to hurt overall bone health. So make sure you're definitely keeping that in moderation, guys. Thank you, Alan. Happy Father's Day to you as well. I really appreciate that again. Thank you. So again, I think that's good for magnesium, guys. Very easy to get magnesium in the diet. Again, you're going to want those dark leafy green vegetables. We can go over all of that. Tammy, I think you mentioned you had spinach. Spinach, one of your best vegetables, dark leafy green vegetables for magnesium. I'd also go with those mustard greens again, guys. So that's why I mentioned it before in our calcium discussion. Mustard greens, great choice for overall bone health. All right, so again, what are some of the other ones? Yeah, salt and sugars. Salt and sugars definitely not good for bone health or for overall health in general. And again, we're seeing more and more studies just on the damage that sugar can do to the body and to your overall health, guys. So try to keep that in moderation or try to cut it from the diet as best you can. All right, now let's talk about some of the other foods that we can have. All right. Some of the other foods that are going to be important. Some people had mentioned fruits. Let's talk a little bit about that. I think one of the best, and I mentioned this fruit a couple times now, very underrated, I think, so I wanted to make sure I wrote this one down, is going to be grapefruit. Citrus fruits in general. Now, why am I saying grapefruit? How is that going to help? Well, we've seen through studies that, remember I mentioned vitamin C, guys, and the importance that vitamin C can have for bone health. I mentioned that a little bit when we were talking about broccoli, how it's a great source of vitamin C. Same thing with grapefruit. All right. And we see with things like grapefruit and other citrus fruits is it's going to help to prevent bone loss. So when we're doing that, we're increasing bone health naturally there, and we're also preventing osteoporosis. So I think grapefruit is going to be a great one, guys. Again, I always say that it's a great choice in the morning, I think. I think having grapefruit in the morning is going to be a good one. Sometimes you'll see see videos and articles maybe that you might read that it can help with fat loss and things of that nature. Not too big on that, but when it comes to overall bone health, I think one of the best. All right, guys. So grapefruit is another great one. So keep that in mind as well. Pine nut work for bone health. Pine nuts aren't bad either, Joshua, just because of the micronutrients found in them. They're high in pretty much all of the micronutrients. Definitely a good source, a decent source at least of magnesium and calcium. So, that's a great one also. Okay. That sounds great, Alan. Yeah, like I said, I've only heard great things about Jamaica, so definitely be one of the one of the ones that I would want to be visiting if I could. Okay, so let's go over a couple ones. We talked about vitamin D, we talked about calcium, we talked about magnesium. All right, let's just go over some specific ones here, guys. All right, now I don't like getting into things like fortified stuff and cereals and things of that nature. A lot of the times you'll see like certain types of brand cereals or even oats that are, will be fortified with, certain micronutrients that are important for bone health, like magnesium, usually though vitamin D. Again, I think you can do it through other sources, but if it's fortified with it, I'll just throw it out there just in case you guys want to write that one down. But I know I think with vitamin D, you can just get it through some of the other foods that I mentioned. But, if you're not a fan of salmon, mackerel, things of that nature, if you don't eat eggs, then oats are going to be one of your best choice as long as they're fortified with vitamin D. 40 thumbs up, guys. Thank you so much. Like I said, I keep looking back and it's just going up and up. Every time, I go on my rant sometimes and I'm sort of, in the zone, so to speak, talking about some of these foods. I sometimes will miss some of the comments or just even the thumbs up, but thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Sorry, I'm just taking a quick sip of water here, guys. So again, if we're going back to our micronutrients, let's talk a little bit about vitamin K. All right, because I mentioned how vitamin K was essential, especially for some of the absorption and increase in calcium and things of that nature. It can be a little bit hard to get vitamin K in the diet. So let's specifically talk about vitamin K. I wrote some decent ones down here, which I think are going to help. And again, like I was talking about a deficiency with vitamin D, I think vitamin K is another food that people can be or have a tendency to have a deficiency in is vitamin K. And the reason why is because if you're getting vitamin K or if you're wanting to increase vitamin K, you have to be eating healthy foods. If you're not eating, your healthy vegetables, your good fruits, even some nuts and seeds, which we'll see, you're not going to be getting that vitamin K. Right? So we have to be eating a healthy diet. And remember, when I say diet, I'm only referring to the foods that you're eating on a day-to-day basis. So we have to make sure that we're keeping vitamin K high here, guys. I think some of the best ones, again, some of the ones that I already pointed out, these are why I'm pointing out, spinach, kale, mustard greens. All right. Mustard greens I've mentioned and wrote down in calcium, magnesium, and now for vitamin K. Tremendous choice. Right? And not one that people always think about. So mustard greens is a huge one. That's why I mentioned it with those three, because most people are going to hear or already know that broccoli is healthy, kale, spinach, all healthy for our bones, but the other one is going to be mustard greens. We can't overlook that. So kale might be your best bet if we're trying to increase vitamin K, super high in vitamin K. I think most of you guys might already know that. If not, vitamin K, definitely kale, super high. The other one is going to be probably maybe mustard greens. I would throw up there second, if not one of the top 5, just to get that vitamin K. We're specifically talking about vitamin K here, guys. Hello, Anita. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you. I appreciate it. Hope you are doing well. Angie, good to see you. Always great to see you in chat. Thank you so much for joining us here again today. Yeah, exactly. Junk food, definitely not going to be a good choice for you, Joshua. Absolutely. And again, Angie, thank you so much. Sickle cell, yeah. Oh yeah, Anita. We're definitely talking about some foods that are great for bones and things of that nature. All of these foods that I mentioned are going to be great for bones and for promoting our bone health and reducing the risk of osteoporosis. So if you missed some of it, Anita, sorry, maybe go back and listen, because we did mention foods. We mentioned some of the lifestyle changes you're going to make, some foods that you're going to want to avoid, and the most common micronutrients that are great for overall bone health and reducing the risk of bone ailments like osteoporosis. So if you missed it, make sure you go back. Some calcium ones were obviously dairy, dark leafy green vegetables, which I mentioned. Vitamin D was like your salmon, mackerel, sardines, eggs, things fortified in vitamin D like oats, as I mentioned, or just UV rays, so natural sunlight. We also talked about some fruits. We talked about some fish varieties, nuts and seeds. So a lot of choices, Anita, for you. If you want to go back and listen, I talked specifically why those are some great choices. So, hey, Yvonne, welcome. Thank you so much. Happy and healthy Father's Day. Thank you, Yvonne. I really appreciate that. Same with you. Hope you're doing great today. Beef liver, oyster, and mushrooms. Yeah, Mufasa, I would agree with all of them. Haven't read too much on mushrooms with osteoporosis or bone health. Maybe I have. I just can't quite remember it. But definitely beef liver and oysters I've definitely heard and read on. So I can definitely give the thumbs up on those three when it's related to bone health. Mushrooms, it definitely makes sense to me. So it's probably right. I just can't remember if mushrooms specifically for bone health. But now that you're mentioning it, it's kind of bringing some definitely a nice choice. I'm trying to remember exactly why, so I can't quite put my finger on it, but we'll definitely maybe try to look for that. What about acidic foods? I think you got to be a little bit careful with acidic foods. One of the things I brought up was caffeine. Just be careful with that. There is certain things that are going to be helpful when we talked about some of the foods and things of that nature. But I'd be careful with acidic foods and everything like that. Not just for bone health though, but you want to keep them moderate just for overall health in general. Man, you guys are going fast. I'm trying to keep up here. All right, you guys are mentioning some good ones. We'll leave it at that. I think the orange is an interesting one, Mufasa, just because of some of the citrus fruits that we mentioned before. All right, so let's talk about some foods high in vitamin K. We already have kale, we have mustard greens. A lot of the times, guys, like I said, this is why I'm saying that it's so important to eat healthy foods, healthy veggies, all right? If your diet is devoid of foods that are high micronutrient foods, like your dark leafy green vegetables, it's very hard to get vitamin K into the diet. Another good one, guys, is going to be broccoli, like we mentioned before. That's why I mentioned those three. All right. Another good one that's going to be very high in vitamin K, Mufasa actually just mentioned, I have written down here, is going to be beef liver. All right. So beef liver is a good one. If you're not a fan of that, chicken is just fine. You guys can have chicken. I know not a lot of people might be fans of beef liver, so I'll give you another one. Chicken is going to be fine. And the good thing about chicken is we know that it's a lean poultry, so it's a lean protein source, which is nice. So I wouldn't hesitate with that one, guys. Again, just in moderation. And if you don't eat meat, you're not a meat eater, I think one that you guys can certainly eat and add to your diet is green beans, which is a nice choice. We're talking about legumes and things of that nature. You're going to get some decent protein from that as well. So green beans is another good choice. Again, you can go with all of those dark leafy green vegetables, guys. A lot of those are going to give you your vitamin K. All right. Make sure that you're having these dark leafy green vegetables. When it comes to vitamin K, there's really nothing that beats that. So I'm talking about, again, the kale, mustard greens, things like that. I'm talking about the spinach and broccoli, which we've mentioned. But again, you can add things like collard greens. Collard greens would be a good one. I think another good one, I don't have it written down, but off the top of my head, is going to be Brussels sprouts. And Mufasa just said it. That's hilarious. I look up and then... it's so funny. Like I said, sometimes I'll miss comments, and then I look up and the first thing I see is Mufasa, Brussels sprouts. Hilarious. Like I said, a lot of the times we're on the same page, guys, so that's awesome. But those are going to be some of your best vitamin K sources, guys. Some of your best vitamin K. But again, make sure that you're keeping those other foods. Like I mentioned, maybe the worst ones are going to be sodium, sugar, and alcohol in excess. Just like with a lot of a lot of the other health benefits and things of that nature. If we're trying to promote bone health, a lot of the times, if you're eating those types of foods, guys, you're just taking a step back, okay? So we don't want to be taking a step back. We want to be taking steps forward, making sure, we're not overdoing it on caffeine, all right? We have to keep that in mind as well. So keep caffeine in moderation, especially if you're dealing with bone health related issues, or you're really trying to prevent things like osteoporosis. Again, you have to be really drinking it in large amounts over a long period of time. But if you're dealing with symptoms already, you're going to want to try to limit it as best you can. All right. So caffeine, I think, is maybe the surprising one to most people. It was a little bit surprising to me when I went back and looked at it. So just keep that in mind, guys. I don't know if it's up there as high as like sodium, sugar, alcohol, but it's definitely one of the ones that we're going to want to keep in mind. So caffeine, I think maybe one of the more surprising ones for me, maybe one of the more surprising ones for you guys as well. Now, let's go over foods high in zinc, because we can't talk about bone health without talking about zinc as well. All right, so let's talk about some of the best choices for foods that are high in zinc. And again, we know that zinc, like I think I mentioned this when I mentioned that zinc was one of the best micronutrients. Zinc is going to be, one of the more common micronutrient deficiencies that are out there right now, sort of like vitamin D. It's essential not only for good health, but for bone health. All right, zinc is very important, just like most micronutrients are, guys. But when we're talking about bone health and preventing bone ailments, osteoporosis, bone loss, bone fractures, zinc is a very, very good one for you guys. Okay, so keep zinc in mind. Make sure you keep these foods in mind as well. What does caffeine do? That's an interesting question, Yvonne. If you missed it, guys, maybe go back and listen. But just because I went over a little bit more in depth, but I think the main takeaways for caffeine that you have to remember, Yvonne, is it's one, going to decrease calcium absorption, which is very detrimental for bone health. We know that calcium is one of the best micronutrients for bone health and reducing osteoporosis. So it decreases the absorption of calcium. Very, very bad if we're talking about bone health. And also it's going to contribute to bone loss if consumed in large amounts. So that's why I'm saying for calcium. We just need to, calcium is very important. And, that's why I bring up caffeine here. All right, I'm just trying to keep up with all the comments here, guys. You guys are doing great today. Man, it's huge engagement in the chat. It's more and more. I honestly can't keep up, I don't think. Green vegetables, absolutely. Same with me. Green vegetables are going to be one of the best food choices. Again, not just for bone health, but for overall health. From Bonaire. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Bonaire. Thanks for sharing with us. Important for healthy bones. Yes, absolutely, Yvonne. And my pleasure. Welcome. Thank you so much for letting me know where you're from. I love hearing where you guys are from, where you guys are listening from. Green vegetables and salmon are best. Yes, absolutely. Purple vegetables, that's awesome, Mufasa. I'm a huge fan of purple. You guys know purple has those anthocyanin antioxidants. Absolutely love them. Hi, Laura. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you so much for all the thumbs up, guys. 45 thumbs up. Wow, that is incredible. Thank you so much, guys. And I hope you guys are enjoying the discussion. Laura, thank you so much for joining us today. No Starbucks for you. It's funny, Yvonne. I have vegetables. Okay, so let's continue with our discussion on zinc, guys. Like I say, a lot of the times people are dealing with zinc deficiency issues. And I've seen studies where it's not only for adults, but also for children. So we need to make sure that we're getting in these types of foods to make sure that we're getting in good amounts of zinc. I'll just say, that's a good question. Washington, very nice, Yvonne. I'll just say this, Laura. I would keep it in moderation. All right. Zinc is one of the ones that you're going to want to keep in moderation. All right. As long as you're keeping it in moderation, You can have it every day. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're going to be eating some of these foods every day, there's nothing wrong with that. You just don't want to overdo it with zinc. Now, again, the reason why I don't sometimes like pointing that out is some people, I don't know your specific situation. So if you're dealing with a deficiency, if you're already high, eating foods that are high in zinc, so you're getting a lot of zinc already. If you are, you might, some people need to eat less than other people. So everyone's situation is different. But again, these are very, very common foods that you're going to see people eating on a daily basis. So they're getting their zinc intake. And again, zinc is like any other micronutrient, guys. There's a daily value that you're going to be eating. You just want to make sure that you're staying within that daily value percentage. That's why I say for Brazil nuts, only 3. There's just so much micronutrients, especially selenium, that you're going to be overdoing it if you're having more than 3. So you need to make sure that you're keeping zinc in moderation, guys. Salmon has more omega-3. Absolutely, it's great. Great for omega-3s. Yes, I learn something every time I'm tuning into your videos. Well, that's great, Tammy. Thank you for letting me know that. I hope everyone is. My favorite drink from Starbucks is the free cold water. Very nice. And as you heard me mention, Mary, water. Big proponent is water, as I'm taking a drink of water right now. Okay, so let's talk about some of the zinc foods. Now, we just need to be careful. Or not careful, but we need to point out that, again, it's going to take a certain diet. And when I'm talking about diet, again, remember, I'm not talking about a diet that's sort of if you're not in a surplus or maintenance, but if you're eating fewer and fewer calories. A lot of people will sort of equate diet to eating fewer calories or trying to lose weight or being in a calorie deficit, as we call it, to lose weight. Again, when I'm talking about diet here, guys, I'm specifically talking just about the foods that we eat on a day-to-day basis. So a lot of the times, these foods, the ones that are going to be the highest in zinc, are going to be like your red meat. Red meat is a great source of zinc. So, that can be beef. I think beef is probably your best source, right? It's going to be the highest. Pork is another good one. I think beef and pork are probably the most common ones that you guys are going to hear. So very, very high in zinc. We'll talk about ones, guys, just in case you don't eat meat or you're not a meat eater. We'll definitely go over some of those. But if we're trying to increase zinc, beef and pork can be a good choice. Now, the only thing I'll say about this, keep it in moderation for sure. All right. I don't know if I would be eating, red meat every single day or pork every single day. Some people do. All right. Again, it just depends on your certain situation. For me, it would be very tough to eat red meat or especially like beef and things of that nature every single day. Have I done it in the past? For a certain amount of time, maybe more red meat than other times. Right now, maybe eat red meat probably once every few weeks, once every couple of weeks, just if I'm having a steak or something. But that's going to be an excellent source of zinc for you guys. Again, another good one is going to be, let me point out a meat alternative just for some people who don't eat meat. I think beans, lentils are going to be a great source for you guys when it comes to zinc. So keep that in mind as well. You do not have to be eating meat. You can be eating beans. That's why I brought up beans a lot today, guys. You guys can see why these foods, that's why I don't like creating a huge umbrella of foods. I keep mentioning the same foods because, again, if we want to prevent osteoporosis and promote bone health, these are the best foods. I always like mentioning the best foods that are going to be doing that. Again, you could include a bunch of different foods, but these are going to be the best ones. So if you don't eat meat, I think beans, lentils, I think that's an excellent choice for you guys. They have a good amount of zinc in them. You got to eat a little bit more just because they are a little bit lower in zinc content. You're getting less and less of your daily value of zinc if you aren't eating meat and you're switching to, beans and legumes, things of that nature. The other nice thing about beans, though, guys, is they contain a really healthy compound, all right? Really healthy compounds known as phytates, all right? Now, why am I going to mention that? This is why I'm bringing up beans so much today. All right? I forgot to mention it in the other part. You know, these phytates are especially important, as I'm trying to remember it here. They're very important when it comes to absorbing zinc and other minerals such as magnesium, for example, if we're kind of relating it back to bone health. So they're going to increase the absorption of zinc and increase the absorption of magnesium. We already know that. Remember how I mentioned that you're getting less and less zinc from beans than you are from meat? With meat, it's a little bit harder to absorb the zinc, all right? The zinc content that is found in things like pork or red meat. But the phytates that are found in beans, lentils, things of that nature are going to be a little bit easier. It's going to be a little bit easier to absorb by the body. So, you know, you can sort of max out just a little bit by eating these beans, which is very nice. Okay, very nice. I love the engagement in chat. That's awesome, guys. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to keep up, but you definitely keep up the engagement, guys. I love it. So those are nice ones for you guys, especially if you don't eat meat. Meat is probably your best source. Beans, lentils, legumes, things like that are going to be another great choice. And you know, you can add them to your diet a bunch of different ways. A little bit harder maybe to add like pork and things like that. I know there is some good recipes out there, but you can easily add beans and lentils to a lot of different foods. Another one, guys, is, you know, nuts and seeds. All right, so we need to make sure that we're eating nuts and seeds. I think that's one of the easiest ways to add sort of zinc to your diet. The only thing is you have to or want to probably keep nuts and seeds in moderation. So even though they are a good source of zinc and magnesium and calcium and everything that we've mentioned today, they are high in calories. So we have to remember that as well. We don't want to be overdoing it in calories where we're in a huge surplus and we're gaining weight. So we need to keep it in moderation. As I've said numerous times in this chat, you know, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing for sure. So, you know, nuts and seeds, again, it's pumpkin seeds, guys. Great source of zinc, very, very high. So again, this is why I'm saying pumpkin seeds over and over, all right? We already know that it was a good source of calcium, magnesium, some of the other micronutrients that we were talking about. So again, pumpkin seeds come up when we're talking about zinc. And one other one that I will throw in there that I didn't talk about today is going to be sesame seeds. Not as good as some of the other ones like almonds and Brazil nuts or chia seeds, but sesame seeds are going to be a good choice if you are trying to increase zinc specifically. So I will mention that as well. Now for nuts, all right, some good choices for our nut varieties are going to be almonds again. Again, that's why I'm saying almonds are one of your best choices to promote overall bone health, guys, to prevent osteoporosis. Almonds, good source of zinc, great antioxidants, great choice here. All right, healthy fats, fiber, I could go on and on. All right, so we're going to see almonds again, and I think someone who mentioned, I'll throw this one in here. I forget who mentioned it, but for pine nuts. Now, pine nuts are a good source of zinc. I actually have that written down here. So pine nuts are going to be another good one. And then maybe one of the highest ones for zinc, I'll throw this out here just off the top of my head. I already know that peanuts are a good source of zinc. So I would go with, I think if you guys are going to include one, I would include those almonds. Just because, like I mentioned, we've mentioned them in 4 different micronutrient discussions here, and that's not even taking into consideration the other vitamins and minerals that they contain, the healthy fats, the fiber, things like that. You cannot go wrong with almonds when it comes to overall bone health. Okay. I think it's almost impossible here for me to keep up with the chat at this point. I'll say one more, guys. Now, this isn't a great source of zinc, and that's why I'm saying if you're not a meat eater, it can be a little bit tougher to get the amounts of zinc that we're looking for. But if you're eating these healthy foods, you can be successful with getting that zinc increased. Again, zinc is going to be one of the more common micronutrient deficiencies. All right, I see this mackerel has high vitamin D3. It's a great source of vitamin D, Joshua. Yeah, mackerel is one of the best. That's why I was saying mackerel is kind of like the more underrated ones. Ones that I'm kind of learning more and more about. Mackerel, salmon. I think the other one I mentioned was sardines. Going to be a great source of vitamin D. Yeah, almonds and pine nuts. Absolutely. I'm a big fan as well. How much almonds a day? Well, that's a great question. Again, it depends on... It's different for every individual. Again, that's why I don't like getting too much into specifics, but I will say this, Mary, because I don't want to, just all those questions just kind of blow them off. I want to make sure that I give you a little bit of advice here. Again, it's going to depend on it's going to depend on person to person. Why? Because it depends on how many calories you should be eating per day. What the macronutrient if you're a certain weight, your macronutrient intake is going to be changing. So how many healthy fats should you be eating per day? How much protein? How much carbohydrates? Especially to stay at a maintenance or a deficit of calories. So it depends from person to person. I will say this, if I'm eating almonds, I do not have more than 10 at a time. Again, that's going to change from person to person. We're probably not the same weight, Mary. So again, for me, it's 10 almonds a day. Now, I have a lot of other not a lot, but I have different other healthy fat varieties in my diet as well. But I try not to overdo it on nuts and seeds. I have them in moderation, but I make sure that I have them. So I have no more than 10, maybe like 15 max, absolutely 15 max. But again, it will change from person to person depending on their macronutrient intake and how much they should be eating per day. I'm going to shop right. That's awesome, Joshua. That's great. Prunes, that's a good one. Yes, dried prunes, absolutely. Figs and stuff of that nature are actually good for the bones. The only thing I'll mention with that, they can be a little bit high in sugar, and calories. Keep them in moderation, Joshua. But when it's specific to bone health and reducing osteoporosis, prunes, there has been some research that shows that there are benefits to it. Mackerel with the bones or without. Mackerel with, I would eat them tajinder, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Mackerel is a good food source when it comes to bone health. But the other one I was going to mention, guys, when it comes to zinc, and I was kind of going on a tangent there and answering some questions, but the one that I was sort of going to say next for zinc is eggs. And again, I like going back to eggs. A lot of people enjoy them. A lot of people have them for breakfast or throughout the day, to be honest. But eggs is a great source, and eggs, I believe, and a lot of other people believe, are a superfood just because of the healthy fat content in it, just because of all the micronutrients that are in it. In the yolk again, guys, remember I was discussing before all the micronutrients that are found in the yolk of eggs. Zinc is another one. So that's why I was saying before, make sure that you're eating the yolk. A lot of people are worried about the cholesterol level, but we already know that sort of the intake, so from your food, the cholesterol that you're intaking is not going to have a huge effect on total cholesterol, serum cholesterol levels. It's going to be more of your lifestyle. So if you're living a sedentary lifestyle, if you're dealing with obesity, things of that nature. And we see that in numerous studies now. So eggs, I think, is another good one. And then again, maybe like sweet potatoes would probably be a good one, guys. I'd go maybe with sweet potatoes, especially if you're not eating meat. Both varieties are good, like regular potatoes or sweet potatoes. I like sweet potatoes because they have a lot more micronutrients. They have a lot more sort of other nutrients in them as well. They're a complex carbohydrate, so they're slower digesting. So I would go with a sweet potato, guys, if you're trying to increase zinc. I've been eating about 9 almonds a day. Okay, nice. You eat 3 almonds a day. Interesting. I don't know if I'll comment specifically on the latter part of that, Mary, but almonds are, like I said, included in a lot of lists of superfoods. A lot of foods are, but I truly think that almonds are a great food choice, and like eggs, a superfood. Just because of all the benefits from almonds. You guys have heard me mention almonds in almost that's why I try not to say almonds in a lot of these discussions, just because we already know that they have such great benefits, but related to so many different health, like health promoting abilities, like heart health we talked about, specifically for preventing osteoporosis and promoting bone health. Absolutely, almonds are a great choice. Did you make salmon before? Yes, I've had salmon, absolutely. And salmon is a great choice for bone health. Have to bake instead of fry it. You can do it either way, Joshua. I would always go with baked. That's just my preference, but I think just depending how you are frying it and how you are eating it, it can make a little bit of a difference. So I think those are the best zinc foods, guys. Some people will throw some other ones in there, but I think that those are the easiest ones to add. It's a bunch of different ones that we mentioned. We talked about meat, like red meat, pork. We talked about legumes and beans and lentils, nuts and seeds, vegetables, eggs, things of that nature. So a lot of foods there, guys, just for zinc. I wanted to make sure that we did a good job with zinc, just because zinc is going to be one of the bigger ones that you're going to find people with a deficiency in, just like vitamin D. That's why we spent a good amount of time on talking about how we can increase vitamin D in our diet. And depending on what type of diet you eat, a lot of different ways that we can get the vitamin D in there. So I would really make sure, guys, if you are adding these foods, and thank you so much for the 53 thumbs up. Wow, I just looked at and we've crossed 53 thumbs up. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Speaking of eggs, 2 boiled ones. Nice. Absolutely. Great omega-3s in sardines. Absolutely. Baked is better than fries. Yeah, it can be a little much fat depending what you're frying it in. Usually you're frying, that's exactly my thought process there, Joshua. Usually you're going to fry it in, some people choose olive oil. A lot of times you'll see canola oil and things of that nature. I was just thinking calories there. Too much fat, as you mentioned. So that's why I like baked. Now you will have probably a little bit of oil if you're baking as well. Olive oil, canola oil, but probably a little bit less. So I was going to say, guys, if you are adding these foods, make sure that you're reducing sodium, sugar, and alcohol as well, and caffeine to an extent if you're dealing with these symptoms. Because if you aren't, you're not going to see the benefits and the bone health promoting benefits and the prevention of bone related ailments like osteoporosis and some of the other ones that we mentioned today, if you aren't, just because, they're so damaging to our body, and it can be so damaging to our bones as well, and to overall bone health. And it really has these things have no micronutrients in them whatsoever. So, like I said, you're only going to be taking a step back. You're only taking a step back if you aren't reducing sugar, sodium, alcohol, things of that nature. So keep that in mind, guys. Keep that in mind. Make sure that you're getting a little bit of resistance training as well, the lifestyle changes that we talked about. So I would make sure you're doing that. Now, almonds good for eye health. I would say that they're fairly good for eye health. Claudius, thank you so much, Claudius, for joining us. The reason why is because they do contain some vitamin E, which is good for, as I mentioned in some videos, vitamin E, a lot of the times, reducing macular degeneration, cataracts, things of that nature. So the vitamin E content in almonds, and also I would say the high levels of antioxidants, if you're eating them with the skin on, can be good for eye health as well. So thank you for asking that. So I think that about sums it up, guys. We've been going for 90 minutes here. Some 90 minutes there. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate all of the thumbs up. I don't think I've ever seen 55 thumbs up live during our chat in 90 minutes. Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion and learned from the discussion as much as possible. It's been a little bit of a busier week. I'm hoping that it'll maybe slow down just a little bit. I have tons of video ideas and tons of stream ideas as well of our live chats here. So every Sunday, I'm going to be getting on. The videos are going to continue to pour in. Like I said, I have a whole page of video ideas that I want to do. So the videos aren't going to be stopping. Might have been a little bit less this week, but I'm definitely not going to be going anywhere. We're definitely going to be continuing with the videos. And just for right now, it might be a little bit slower, but it will definitely pick up. I can promise you that. And then also, I'm going to try my best to get the 2 streams in a week. Right now, we're nailing down the 1 a week easily. So I'm very happy with that. And I'm so glad that you guys are enjoying it. Is it okay to soak the almonds? Absolutely. I would just make sure that you're keeping the skins on still, Mary. I have a video on soaking almonds. I think specifically that I did a couple of years ago, but it still stands out to me. So yeah, it's you're okay to soak the almonds. Just make sure that the skin is still on. But I love this chat. Great chat today. Like I said, I always like chatting with you guys live so I can answer your questions in real time and engage with you guys. And just doing this for, I think, 8 years now. Going back to even more than 8 years, almost 9 years, I think it is, to the very first video that I did. It's just so great to be able to talk to you guys live now. And I'm really enjoying these chats. And, liking a comment or responding to a comment is great, but it's so much nicer just to be able to talk with you guys. I know you guys hear me talking in the videos, but that's done in a certain format, and I'm kind of able to kind of be more free flowing here, I would say. A little bit different from the videos, so I kind of like this as well. But you're very welcome, Laura. Thank you so much for coming into chat today. Thank you to everyone who came in today. Big shout out to everyone who let me know where you were from. Always love it. Deborah, always great to see you. Mufasa, sorry I can't scroll up, guys. I can only see maybe the last 12 comments, but Joshua, Mufasa, Alan, Deborah, Claudius, Mary, look at all the names. Geez, Laura, thank you so much for joining today. I know Tammy was in here. I apologize to everyone else. Deb was in here. Those are the ones that I can just quickly remember. Tajinder, I think. Tajinder, absolutely. Thank you for your comments. I apologize. I can't scroll up. Thank you, Mary. My pleasure. Thank you for your compliment there, and thank you, Alan, for your compliment. Deserve an award for your videos. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that you like them. I hope everyone else enjoys them as well. Thank you very much, Deborah. I hope you do as well. Have a safe day. Have a great Father's Day. And same to everyone else that's in here. You're very welcome, Tajinder. Oh, California, Mary. Very nice. See, I love hearing that. It's been so different today. Like all over the world. India, a lot in the States. Canada, we were in here. So, it's always awesome to hear where everyone's from. Jamaica. Thank you, Joshua. So thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the support. Like I said, the videos aren't going anywhere. I have tons of video ideas that I want to get out to you guys. I want to make sure that, I'm getting on here at least once a week for now. Again, it might just be a little bit slower. There tends to be times in your life where you're a little bit busier than others. But, not going anywhere, guys. I've been here for 9 years, so you can definitely count on that. We're definitely going to be here every Sunday. Try to get on here Wednesday just so I can talk with you guys and get more content out there for you guys. But that's awesome. England, very nice. That's awesome. Thanks, Sajinder. Thank you, Tammy. Hope you do as well. Alan, have a great day. Lily, my pleasure. Thank you so much for your comment. And thank you everyone else who was in here today. We'll stop the stream there. Again, appreciate the thumbs up, guys. You guys are awesome. Great community we have here. I couldn't be happier with it. So thanks. I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion on preventing osteoporosis, promoting bone health. I will talk to you guys soon. Videos are going to be out. Thank you so much for the support, and have an amazing, amazing Father's Day and Sunday.